Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. This evening I am joined by Rudy of X-Cult Baby. Hello, Rudy.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so we got a pretty heavy stream tonight. So I thought we'd start things light. First off, I would like to point out that I am using the stream as a fundraiser for, I always say it wrong. Where are we? The Brigid Alliance. It's an organization that what they do right now is they help pay for people's travel expenses who need abortions. So like for people who live in restrictive states like Texas, where Texas, it's illegal to travel for an abortion, I guess. Whatever. I'm not going
to catch you.
I am not giving legal advice one way or another. I am not going to make recommendations about breaking the law. However, they do help pay for people's travel expenses, and I think they do operate in Texas. So we're fundraising for them this evening. So do not, I mean, I'll still like read super chats if you send me super chats and stuff, but like donate to them first. I'll match the first 500, and I'll try to remember to say this at the beginning of every segment, because I'm having my fundraiser go for 18 days. That should be enough time for the live stream and for me to divide the live stream up into chunks and upload the chunks onto my other channel, The Watering Hole. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe over there. So if you're watching this in the Watering Hole archives, as long as it's like within a couple days of it going up, the fundraiser is still going. It's a very needed thing right now. So go ahead and donate there. Rudy, how are you?
I am doing just fabulous. My husband and I just saw Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Spoiler-free review. It was definitely strange and definitely mad.
Like mad as in angry, or mad as in...
Mad as in madness.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I haven't really been keeping up with the Marvel-verse anymore.
That's fair. Most real adults have given up on that by now. But
are you accusing me of being a real adult?
I will
not stand for it. I will not stand for it. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Rudy is my dungeon master. We play Dungeons and Dragons on Fridays, and before the stream, I asked them to make some ridiculous thumbnail faces for me to use in thumbnails or whatever. And in my direction for one of the thumbnail faces was, make the face that you made when you found out that my character in D&D was really serious about staring at that ridiculous rock for like half an hour. I distracted the whole party with it, because on the map the rock looked, I forget what it even looked like, but it looked like a thing.
It was like a little statue.
Yeah, and I was like, it's going to be a magic rock. Something's going to happen with that rock. It's got to be integral to the plot of this. And the just the characters that we had with us, like Rose was playing an Aarakocra that was a little unstable. And so
ridiculous.
She joined in, staring at the, like, oh, he's staring at the rock. There must be something going on here. So I had the whole party staring at a rock for a ridiculous amount of time. It was fun.
And the reality is, I just use pre-made maps, and that map happened to have a weird shaped rock in it. And I was just like, ignore the rock. It's just a rock. Come on, move on. We got stuff to do.
All right. Dimitri says, keep up the good work. Yeah. I have the little ticker bar down there showing how many people have donated. Did I say I'd match the first 500? I think I said that.
You did say that.
Okay, so I'll match the first 500. And this little donation ticker bar thing down at the bottom should be refreshing on its own, but there is a chance that, like, if I accidentally hit the scroll wheel, it'll do that and you can't see it anymore. So, I don't know, sound off in chat if that does happen. But yeah, give to the Bridget Alliance. It's a much needed cause right now. Now, as has become tradition on the stream, I try a new whiskey or scotch or bourbon, and this evening I'm trying Jameson's. It's cheap, and I've never tried it before.
Really?
So yeah, no, I mean, it's super. Well, I mean, not that I know of. It's possible that, you know, that I've been to a bar, and when I said scotch, they were just like, we're out of scotch. They won't know if I pour the Jameson's, and they would have been right. I would not have known. Well, I don't know. Yeah. I haven't tried it yet. Maybe I would know.
Oh. Verdict?
It's okay.
It's cheap, so
yeah, it's not bad. But it's not my favorite. And yeah, I'm not sophisticated enough that I would be able to tell that apart from a scotch if a lazy bartender didn't want to open a new bottle or something. And yes, that does happen in bars. I've worked with several bartenders that would do stuff like that, and I'd be like, no, that's not what they asked for. And they'll never know.
If they're the kind of person that specifically asks for a specific liquor, they'll probably know.
Depends. If it's in a mixed drink, not like I have my doubts if you can tell the difference between the rail whiskey and the like first tier up from the rail whiskey in your mixed drink.
That's fair. Like, if I'm having a Moscow Mule, I probably don't know if you're using Tito's or Grey Goose. All I know is that it tastes like delicious ginger beer and lime juice, and also vodka.
So one of the places I used to work at, we actually had, it wasn't a Moscow Mule, I don't think. It was one of the other ginger beer drinks. I forget what it was. Oh no, you know what? It was a custom cocktail. It was one with our name, but on the menu it said there was ginger beer in it, and we didn't carry ginger beer. So they would just put ginger ale in it. And that's what I said. I said, no, that is not the same thing. No, it's the same thing. Nobody knows the difference. Like, no, just because nobody complains about it doesn't mean they don't know the difference. Like,
I would have complained if I had that and it said it had ginger beer in it. I would have been like, this is either ginger ale or the worst ginger beer ever.
Well, I never got any complaints about that because I always told people when they ordered it, like, yeah, it says ginger beer on the menu. I'm sorry, it's not ginger beer. I called it a misprint, but no, it's a lie.
Not a misprint, just a lie. But
I don't know why. Like, it's a custom cocktail. Just write ginger ale if you're going to use ginger ale. Like, you made up the cocktail. You may as well be honest about what's in it. That might even be illegal, actually.
That's so unfortunate, because if I love ginger beer, love it. I like ginger ale a lot too. I love ginger beer. And if I ordered something thinking there was going to be ginger beer in it, in fact, I probably would have ordered it. Like, say you're taking my order. I'm like, ooh, this has ginger beer in it. I'll have that. And you'd be like, it's actually ginger ale. That would be legitimately disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I didn't get along with management there. So like, I
Yeah, it
mean,
sounds like.
well, okay, that I got along better with management there than I have in other places. Like one of the reasons I do so well at YouTube is because I don't have a boss to argue with. So if something needs to get done the way that I want it done, it just gets done the way that I want it done.
Because you're your own boss.
Because there's stupid stuff like at one of the restaurants I worked at, they wanted us to ask people for TripAdvisor reviews before they got their dessert. And I'm like, okay,
What?
well, if my server came over and handed me a TripAdvisor card and be like, do you mind just leaving us a review while you wait for your dessert? I'd be like, no. And when I do leave a review, it's going to be 1 star less now because you asked me before I was done the meal.
Yeah, like, do they think their desserts are shitty? Like, what does that mean?
Well, yeah, that was my takeaway too. Is like, okay, well, I want to get your review in before we get the desserts out, otherwise the review might fail. Like that's what I saw. And so, like,
Yeah.
I was never pushy with the reviews, and they wanted people to be pushy with the reviews, and I just can't do that. So because I didn't get the reviews, they always put me in what they thought were the bad sections, but the management was not really that bright. So what they thought were the bad sections were actually like really, really busy sections. They were just in not the most aesthetically pleasing section of the restaurant. So it's like, yeah, it's a bad section in that the people sitting there probably would have preferred to sit elsewhere, but there's more of them, so I make more money than the people with the good sections. So it's like, okay.
The good section. No, the good section is the section where you make the most money.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. No, there were several times where like the guy they always stuffed at the front because he could get everybody to leave a review. He actually like several times asked like, hey, can I just go to the back, please? Like I want to make some money. Put me at the back. And they were like, no, you're the good server. You go at the front. And like, oh, it was.
That's so unfortunate.
That place was weird. I did like it. Despite what I'm saying about it, it was one of my favorite serving jobs that I had. So maybe that doesn't say much about serving jobs, if we're honest.
Yeah, I've been a server. I feel ya.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Oh, we've got $139 in. I'm sorry, there's not going to be notifications for the donations here because it's done through Facebook. They don't have... I actually contacted them when I decided to set this up as a fundraiser yesterday, and they didn't have a Tiltify account, which is the one that I used last time, that in theory you can get notifications, but I hadn't figured it out that time either. But this time it's not my fault. It's because they didn't have an account, so I'm doing it through Facebook, which I'm sorry that it's going through Facebook, but Facebook doesn't take any fees or anything for fundraisers, so it still all goes to them. Oh, and the Stream Elements bot is telling you to give me money. Just ignore that. That should be... Okay, I'm sorry. It wouldn't be one of my streams if I didn't have to like log into my account and change stuff on the fly. Chatbot, timers, donation bot.
Anytime I'm on a stream and there's not a technical difficulty, I'm thinking I must be the one that fucked up. Because if the technology didn't fuck up, then I must have fucked up. Because all live streams have to have at least a little bit of a fuck up, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it just... Oopsies. Okay, so it's supposed to be rotating through and do like one for me and one for the donation pool or whatever, but I just changed it. So it should just be asking for the donation thingy right now.
Excellent.
Okay. So, shall we get into the articles?
I thought we'd just shoot the shit for a while. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Let's do it.
Yeah, that could be fun. Did you watch the stream with Cirrus and I?
I did not.
Oh, we were so unhinged. It just like all over the place. It ended up being a thing where like I ended up cutting out like every time we went on a completely unrelated rabbit trail, I just cut that section out and put them together in their own video. There was 45 minutes of that on an hour and a half stream.
Excellent. Wow, beautiful.
It was a lot of fun, but like we had to rush through the article.
Because you were just too busy shooting the shit, which is great.
Well, it actually resulted in my favorite cold open for any of my videos was like after the initial like, oh, please like and subscribe to this channel or whatever, that goes away. And the first thing you hear is me just, shut the fuck up.
That's you know what that reminds me of is us playing D&D. I'm like, oh, everybody's getting together. Oh, we haven't seen each other in like 3 weeks because our schedules have been all messed up and we haven't been able to play. How's life? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I have a game prepared, people. Let's go. Let's go. I'm so glad you got a puppy. Let's go.
Now, in my defense in those situations, um, you guys are basically the only adults I talk to verbally when I'm not like
Oh,
streaming. So
you guys are also most of my
and
social contact. Don't get
and
me wrong.
because I like the time is like you guys have kind of scheduled the whole thing around when I'm available, and so it's like as soon as I'm done putting the kids to bed, I hop on D&D and I'm already late because kid bedtime happens. Okay, Knight's Shroud. I recognize that name. I saw a comment earlier that you made that I kind of wanted to talk about. So this might be interesting. Rhino, I need your opinion on two arguments. One, that the 10th Amendment applies here and this is a states' right issue. And two, the courts shouldn't have ruled on this as it should have been legislation. I think we're going to address those. Now, I'm not a constitutional scholar. I'm not terribly familiar with the American Constitution. So
yeah, you're also not American.
Yeah,
so.
I can't tell you what the 10th Amendment is off the top of my head. Like I know the big ones that everybody talks about. Like the First Amendment is the Free Speech Establishment Clause. Second is the guns. Fifth is the it's not just the right against self-incrimination. That's also the one I think that spouses don't have to testify against each other.
I only know that one because you got the phrase "I plead the fifth." I plead
the fifth, and we have. What's funny is we have a similar thing in Canada, but like a lot of Canadians know it as "I plead the fifth," but I can't even tell you which one it is in the Canadian charter, but it like we do have one specifically for that, and you can plead that particular section of the charter,
but you still say
but nobody knows it. Yeah, it's still "I plead the fifth," because popular culture or whatever, but. So yeah, Knight's Shroud said earlier, and I think this is probably what you're getting at, is that if Roe versus Wade gets overturned, it's not going to end abortion. It's just going to remand it to the states and make it a states decision. And I think you had said earlier that like for most states, it's not going to change, but there are dozens of states. Like I think the number's over 25. I forget the exact number, but I was seeing somewhere.
You don't remember
30.
how many states there are?
There's 50 states. I'm saying there's somewhere in between 20 and 30 states that already have anti-abortion legislation that should Roe versus Wade be overturned, it will automatically revert to that, and it's more restrictive. So that's like more than half. So that I might have the number of states wrong on that. I don't have it right in front of me, and I'm not good at remembering numbers. So, but it's not an insignificant number. Anyway, let's pop up to the article. So I've got the Politico article up. That's the original one where the news broke. And I do want to discuss a couple things with this. Number one, nothing has changed right now. This is a draft decision. It's not taking effect until probably June. So if you are currently pregnant and you have an appointment, keep the appointment. So because it's not time to cancel appointments. Don't start. Well, I mean, start freaking out. But if you can get it done before June, then get it done before June. And if you need help with travel expenses, maybe check out the Bridget Alliance. They might be able to help with that. And if you
donate,
if you have some funds, pop some down below. I will be matching the first 500. We're at 139.
I plan on donating. Of course, obviously, I'm in the fundraiser, but I have to check my budget first because we're a little tight this month. But it's like, what's more important? A couple of trips for fast food or like helping people get the health care that they need?
Yeah. So that's the first thing that I kind of wanted to talk about with this is that it's not in effect yet. So like there's still some time if you are in a situation where you need an abortion. Scott Dillahunt is saying stock up on Plan B. I heard I don't know how accurate this is, but I heard it stays good in the cupboard for 5 years. But then also there's I got a lot of stuff highlighted that I'm not going to talk about tonight because there's other stuff that came up since then that I want to discuss. But the other thing I kind of want to get to with this is that this is his reasoning for the decision. Alito's reasoning was basically it was so utterly ridiculous. Like, have you read any of the any of the actual draft?
So funny story. I had some personal shit going on when the news broke. Uh, and I was so hyper fixated on that. I had an anxiety attack at work the next day, and you'd think it was because of the Roe v. Wade thing, but no, it was because my dad called me the night before. Well, he called my husband, and I haven't heard from him in over a year, and he didn't come to our wedding, and I had all these thoughts. So I was so overwhelmed by that, but I was almost kind of relieved because I was like, I could be freaking out about Roe v. Wade right now, but I'm not. I'm freaking out about something else that's a lot smaller and a lot more manageable for me personally. And then when I'm done with that, I will freak out about Roe v. Wade. So I actually haven't gotten around to reading it yet.
Yeah, sorry. Everybody in the chat has just started saying echo. I actually noticed immediately before everybody was saying echo that I had two little lines going in my audio thing while you were talking, and I fixed it before I saw them saying echo.
You're a genius.
I did a thing right.
You're ahead of the game.
Yeah, so you've been busy, so you didn't really have time. So I haven't read the whole thing. It's 100 pages long. That's a short novel.
Yeah, I've just looked up the summaries.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that he goes through, there are several pages where he's citing precedent, and the main thrust of his argument was that the right to bodily autonomy is not part of our history. It's not part of our tradition in the States. And to prove that, he went back and cited laws going back all the way to the 14th century. And, like, yeah, in the 14th century, women didn't have a right to nobody really had a right to bodily autonomy. You know who else didn't have a right to bodily autonomy? The slaves.
Yeah, like, you want to talk about not having you're right, absolutely, but we overturned those things because it was fucked up.
Yeah, no, it's like if you want something that's a part, like, these guys are originalists, so their whole thing is that the Constitution needs to be interpreted the way that the founders meant it to be interpreted. First off, that's dumb. Times change. Secondly,
I don't give a damn what a bunch of old white slave owner dudes really thought.
Yeah.
Totally glad that they made the country that I live in exist.
Well,
otherwise, I don't really care.
Here's the thing, though. What the founders, like, how they thought the Constitution should be interpreted was as a living document that was subject to change. That's why they had procedures in place for changing it.
Right. As much as I disagreed with their opinions at the time, they were like, well, down the road, things are probably going to be different because, we know how history works. That's how it works. So let's make room for that to happen.
Yeah, there are people in the chat saying the U.S. didn't exist in the 14th century. I'm aware of that. He went back to Britain for American traditions. So make that make sense.
It's
like, you know what tradition didn't really fly with England when the states formed? The whole violent rebellion thing.
Yeah.
Like, that was a bit of a break from tradition, was it not?
American tradition is like anti-British tradition.
Yeah.
Well, except for the colonizing. But yeah, besides that.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, American and Canadian culture gets a lot from England and the UK. Because, we were British colonies at one point. It's bound to happen. But yeah, it's actually interesting to look and see, like, the differences in Canadian culture and American culture based on, like, well, Canada separated peacefully from the UK. Arguably that couldn't have happened without the American Revolution first, because they didn't want another one.
Yeah, they were like, we lost that one, we've kind of seen how this plays out, pass.
Let's let them do it and pretend that it was a mutual thing. But yeah, so it's one of those things where it's like, it's interesting to examine the cultures. But anyways, what I wanted to get into is that since this Roe versus Wade overturn thing, to get back to that point earlier about this being remanded to the states and the states get to decide things, Louisiana, it hasn't passed their House yet. It passed a committee. I forget what committee. But it's House Bill number 813. Abortion enacts the Abolition of Abortion in Louisiana Act of 2022 is what it's called. It's a weird title, but it's kind of clunky. Now, I have read through this whole thing. I am not a lawyer, so there's a good chance I've got some things in here wrong, but there's some stuff in here that is very obviously should not be in legal documents that are meant to be made into law. So, like, for instance, where is it? It's in here somewhere. Ah, there we go. Section 2, acknowledgement of the sanctity of innocent human life created in the image of God, which should be equally protected from fertilization to natural death. The legislature hereby declares that the purpose of this act is to fully recognize the human personhood of an unborn child at all stages of development prior to birth from the moment of fertilization. So much going on here. So much going on. First off, created in the image of God. What the fuck is that doing in a bill?
Yeah, it should not be. It should not be. I mean, it's so blatantly.
It doesn't get, like, the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment is like the Congress shall. I don't know the exact phrasing, but like it's phrased very legalistically in a way that I've always felt it kind of weird that like a teacher praying with students counts as making a law respecting the establishment of religion. Because that's not making a law. Like, obviously there's legalese crap going on here that I'm not a lawyer, so I don't fully comprehend it. But like it applies in those situations. But like this is actually making a law.
It's a very literal version of that. And we're letting that's gonna fly? That's already passed by people's hands and they were like, yeah, we're down for that.
I mean, it was a committee that had like less than 10 people on it, so we'll see how it goes in the House and the Senate and when the governor gets it and whatever. But it's Louisiana, also, so I'm not really.
And as we were slightly discussing earlier, if you're including the moment of fertilization,
yeah, that's the next
people
thing.
are gonna get arrested for having a period.
Mm-hmm. You have a period after you have sex. You have a period. Like if it were physically possible, if I flush one of my kids down the toilet right now and they die, I go to prison. So if you have sex and then you have a period and that is in the toilet at some point, you give it a flush. You've just flushed a living human being down the toilet according to this bill.
Yeah, that makes no sense. I also just find it weird that, with this being a legal definition, you're basically giving it to politicians to decide something that is very obviously a scientific matter.
Yeah.
Like, when is a person a person? Like, that has nothing to do with law. And codifying that into law just on an arbitrary basis of like, we've decided it starts here.
Oh, we haven't even gotten into the beginning of how heinous this is. So, see, nobody's donating to the fundraiser. People donate now.
Donate.
People in Louisiana need help. Yeah. So, okay, what was I going to say? Yeah. So, if a fertilized egg at any stage is considered a fully developed, like, fully recognize the human personhood of an unborn child at all stages of development prior to birth from the moment of fertilization. Ensure that the right to life and equal protection of the laws to all unborn children from the moment of fertilization by protecting them by the same laws protecting other human beings. Do you know what that means? That means if you are pregnant and you are in an abusive relationship and you leave, he can then press charges for you kidnapping his child.
That's crazy.
Because that child is a full human person with all the other.
And you took it with you.
Yeah.
You sick fuck.
Yeah. So that literally legally traps someone in an abusive relationship because they can't kidnap their child because they can't leave without the child. They have no choice. It's inside them. There's so much wrong here. And they also, let's see. So they also have a couple of statutes in here that I'm pretty sure they can't possibly be, like, they can't be legal to make these laws, but they have things in here. Oh, let's see where I can find it. But like there's stuff in here that's basically like, even if the Supreme Court does not overturn Roe versus Wade, We say, "Nuh-uh, we're doing it anyway." Like, that's the. Oh yeah, here we go. Any federal statute, regulation, treaty, executive order, or court ruling that purports to supersede, stay, or overrule this section shall be in violation of the United States Constitution and the Constitution of Louisiana and is therefore void. So they've got a preemptive nuh-uh in the bill.
But it's not unconstitutional though, so nuh-uh to your nuh-uh.
Yeah, it's like, it's unconstitutional for you to apply the Constitution to our bill. What?
Who wrote this shit?
We both took a sip at the same time. That was bad timing.
Hey.
It's like 10 seconds of us both swallowing and clearing our mouths so we could talk again.
I was also making funny faces at the same time, at least.
Fair. That's fair. But yeah, so this is the kind of thing that red states are going to be doing now. They've been emboldened.
Yep. And that's all not to mention the fact that, you know, as soon as they are that emboldened, it's marriage equality is next. It's on the chopping block.
Oh, absolutely. It was basically explicitly said in the in the draft. Like the way he was, I forget which case it was, but the case that which one was it? I forget which one it was, but there was one of the cases that he's basically saying this doesn't count as precedent anymore. That there were so many rulings based on that precedent that followed from it, and it was like everything from interracial marriages to segregation to like just anything you could imagine. Actually, it might have just been Roe. Like that's the right to privacy thing. It was the right to privacy. And he like listed all of these things that he's saying this explicitly will not overturn any of these other rulings, which I call bullshit on that. I don't believe him for a second. But conspicuously, he left out the Obergefell ruling from the list of things that would not be overturned by their overturning of Roe versus Wade. So it's pretty much explicitly on the chopping block next. And then this bill right here, this makes some forms of contraceptive illegal because some of them prevent the implantation of a fertilized embryo.
That's true.
So that, like, taking your birth control pill could be punishable by, like, you could go to jail for homicide if you take a birth control pill in Louisiana, should this pass.
I live in Ohio. I have a feeling they're gonna follow suit with a lot of that bullshit. Like, Ohio is like the southernest northern state.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple super chats to get to. I don't know why you guys are giving me money instead of the charity. Although we're up to 171 now, so we got 4 people donated. Need more. Give them more. Knight's Shroud again says, regardless of religious undertones, define specifically when humans begin to have rights. Also, I hate to say this to you, but straw man, fleeing abuse or violence would likely fall under self-defense. Yeah, but when you flee under self-defense, you're not allowed to kidnap someone while you do it. So if you flee with someone else attached to you, like it doesn't matter if like, oh yeah, they would probably not prosecute that sort of thing. The fact that it's still illegal is massively problematic. And
the argument could be made, and even if it's a bad argument, the fact that it is even on the table is bad.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be an option. Whether like it's like blasphemy laws. Like countries are repealing their blasphemy laws, or they have been for a while now, and some people have been saying, well, what's the point? Why are you wasting time on that? Nobody enforces them anyway. It's like, okay, yeah, nobody enforces them, but they shouldn't even be on the books.
Yeah, like the fact that there are bad laws that we keep around is still bad, even if they're not being enforced. Like, I think that in the same way that, you know, there's a difference between being not racist and being anti-racist, there's a difference between, well, we don't enforce those rules versus, no, we specifically think those rules are bad and shouldn't even be rules. Even if we didn't acknowledge them before, we need to acknowledge openly that they're bad and get rid of them.
Yeah, and as to when humans begin to have rights, when they're born. Now, I think end of the second trimester is when the brain starts to develop to the point where like something resembling consciousness starts to emerge. So I think that more consideration should be given to the fetus in the third trimester. But like the vast majority of third trimester abortions are because of some massive medical problem, like the baby didn't develop a brain and it's dangerous to keep it inside the woman for the rest of the term and stuff like that.
At third trimester, basically the baby and or the mother aren't going to survive. That's the kind of abortions you get at third trimester.
But like even like regardless of brain development, it's a matter of bodily autonomy. Like I cannot be forced to give my kidney to someone who needs a kidney, even if that person will die if I don't give them my kidney. It's the same thing with a pregnancy. Like the baby is using the woman's body or the person's body.
Yeah, and at whichever point they don't necessarily need that body to survive, great, more power to you. Get on out of there, buddy. Live your little life.
The only super chats I'm getting are people that want to argue with me. Which,
I mean, those are the real debate people because they're literally paying money.
I guess that's fair though, because everybody who doesn't want to debate with me is just giving money to the charity, so that's fair.
Yeah.
So Michael Acuff, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, says, if life doesn't begin at fertilization, when is life? I think I just kind of answered that. Then assumptions, women can't leave with the man's child, then why can he have no say in aborting his child? Because it's not his body.
Because it's not in him.
But also,
it's not his body that's being affected by the child.
But also, in most abortion scenarios, it's married women that already have children. Most abortions are performed on people that already have kids. So they are probably in a stable relationship. They have probably talked it over with their partner. So a lot, like if you're in a stable relationship, usually that's a discussion that happens. Ultimately, the final say should absolutely go to the person who's pregnant because it's their body.
Yeah, like if I were in this scenario, of course I would talk to my partner about it. But at the end of the day, you know, he doesn't have the power to veto me because everything that happens regarding the pregnancy is going to happen to me, not to him.
Yeah, pregnancy is dangerous.
I saw some pictures a little while ago of somebody giving birth. Like it was a close-up on the head coming out of the coochie. And I was like, no, never. No.
Yeah, so I was in the room when they did a C-section on for my first. They let me watch. And like at one point during the procedure, it's like, oh, her insides are on her outside now, and they need to tuck that back in before they sew her up and stuff. It's like, oh. And what's really weird though is like I'm kind of a squeamish guy. I feel like I haven't fainted, but I feel faint when I see like certain amounts of blood. Like I have this little scar on my. Well, I'm not even gonna bother. You won't see it on the camera, but like I ran over a metal pair of tongs with a lawnmower once that was just hiding in the long grass, and it shot it out the back, and it went like it's just this little tiny cut, but it went all the way down to the bone. As soon as I saw the bone, it was just like, oh no, I can't drive myself to the hospital for stitches. You're gonna need to drive me.
Oh Lord, were all three of your kids C-sections or just the first one?
The first one and the last one. The middle one was what's called a VBAC, so vaginal birth after cesarean, and he actually probably should have been a C-section. He had to be resuscitated as soon as he was born. Now that wasn't necessary, but because the other two were C-sections because they were breech. He was not breech, so that's why they let it go through. And then generally after 2 C-sections, they don't like it if you go back to vaginal because there's a chance of ripping open your old wounds.
Yeah, bad move, probably.
Yeah. I mean, some doctors don't even like it if you do it after 1, but it's doable. That's one of those things where you talk to your doctor about because it might be different for different people. Okay.
Thanks for the medical advice.
No, my medical advice is talk to your doctor. I'm not giving medical advice.
Yeah, I know. That's the medical advice. Talk to your doctor.
Yeah, so I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not giving medical advice. How many disclaimers do we need on this episode?
Oh no.
We ain't doctors, we ain't lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next up, and before I do the next up, I will just remind everybody that this is a charity fundraiser. So please donate to the Bridget Alliance. They help pay for women's travel, for people's travel expenses. I'm sorry, I keep saying women because it's so permeating to the thing. I know there are trans men who can get pregnant as well. So it's people.
And non-binary people.
And non-binary people. Guys,
Hey,
gals,
I'm a
and non-binary
person
pals.
who, well, I can't get pregnant because I'm on birth control, but I'm capable of. So, yeah.
I mean, one of ours was the result of failure of birth control methods.
Ooh, don't tell me that. I'm scared.
Well, it was. Well, I don't know what you're using, but it was what's it called? The thing, the little prongy thing that they.
Just, the IUD.
Yeah, IUD. That's it. It was an IUD, and I guess the IUD shifted.
Yeah. So funny story. I have been until now getting the depot shot, and I've gained a lot of weight since 2020. And I finally went to my doctor. I said, last time I went to my doctor, they had me step on the scale, and I said, God damn it, hold on a second. And I took off my coat. Then I stepped back on the scale, and I said, son of a bitch, which all the nurses got a real kick out of. But then I went to my doctor, and I was like, man, I walk almost 30 minutes a day, every day. I don't eat that many sweets. What's going on? And she was like, well, the depot shot does cause weight gain. I was like, well, I wish you had told me that like 2 years ago. But yeah, let's switch birth controls. Thank you very much. So now I'm on the pill. Long story for no reason at all, but it's technically relevant.
Well, I've been snipped, and that was the best decision of my life. Well, one of them.
Oh, yeah, smart man.
Yeah. And that came after the failure of the birth controls. Is like, okay, well, we were planning on a third anyway, so that's fine. We weren't quite ready for it yet, but it's okay. We'll take it. And then after that, it was like, we're not
Seriously,
ready for a fourth.
No more. No more.
Let's just take care of that right there.
Yeah. Probably a smart decision.
Cut it off at the source.
I also have really painful menstruation, so as soon as the opportunity for like, oh, birth control, yes, absolutely. I'm done with this. I am over it. Take it away.
Now, what if that was made illegal because it might potentially cause you to not have a baby when it's been fertilized?
That's so upsetting to think about. I gotta
like some
if
people.
Some
people need that shit for their cramps.
Yeah, because I just have moderately painful menstruation. I don't have like actual menstruation disorders like some people do, where it's excruciating all the time.
Yeah. No, we're up to 197 with 5 donors.
Yeah. Keep it coming.
So just $303 more, and I'll throw in my 500. I won't do that on stream because there's a chance that like it'll pop up with my credit card number and everything.
Yeah.
On my screen capture.
Not.
But I'll do it after the stream. Yeah. So anyway, the next topic, we did the transition thing earlier. So next topic, Christian nationalism is the single biggest threat to American religious freedom. Now this,
news?
Well, what's news here is what kind of struck me, and this is just like we're just going to breeze through this one. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but so this is an interview with Amanda Tyler, who is the executive director of the Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty. Now, just going by that name, that sounds messed up as fuck, because they have trained us that anytime we hear religious liberty or
what they really
family,
mean is religious
what they
dominance.
really mean is religious liberty for us and not anyone else, and family means no rights for anyone who is LGBTQ. But what these people mean when they say religious liberty is actually religious liberty. And this is the Baptist Joint Committee. So these are Baptists here, not Southern Baptists, because I know Southern Baptists are a bit weirder, but like these are Baptists. They're not exactly known for endorsing separation of church and state, but they formed a committee that's like, hey, it's getting a little out of hand. And right here, first question, what are the most pressing threats to religious freedom in the United States today? Tyler, the Baptist, says, I believe that the single biggest threat to religious freedom in the United States today is Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is antithetical to the constitutional idea that belonging in American society is not predicated on what faith one practices or whether someone is religious at all. The political ideology that seeks to merge American and Christian identities is deeply embedded in American society and manifests itself in a number of different ways, some more obviously harmful than others. The most violent expressions, such as what we saw in the January 6th insurrection, get the most attention, but the more subtle ones, like state legislative efforts to promote the teaching of the Bible in public schools or to require the posting of "In God We Trust" in public schools and other public places, are also dangerous in that they perpetuate the false narrative that to be a true American one must be Christian, and often a certain type of Christian.
You know, it's as funny as it is to hear that from a Baptist. Even when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I was of exactly the same opinion. Like, to me, it was a no-brainer that if maybe it's because I was part of an extreme religion, but in my mind, it was like, it seems like it would benefit everybody if we kept religion out of politics and we just made sure that pluralism was a thing and everybody could do their thing and no particular thing was forced on anybody. Like,
now, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Jehovah's Witnesses are the ones that stay out of politics, right?
Yes, they do. Yeah. I wasn't really supposed to have political opinions. I was naughty.
Yeah. Like, I know the Mormons get involved in politics because their whole thing is that we're going to take over the country one day. And be like, Mitt Romney was supposed to be that guy back in, I think it was 2012.
I sure was. I sure had a lot of political opinions for somebody who claimed to be politically neutral. Like, the only way in which I was actually politically neutral was that I didn't vote. But there also weren't any elections until that I could have voted in until after I left the religion. So I didn't even really not vote. I just didn't have the opportunity to. But I swore up and down that even if I could, I wouldn't have. But I had a lot of opinions.
Yeah. Well, like, that's the main thing that I want to get to here is that, like, the Christian nationalism is so bad that the Baptists are starting to call them out on it.
Yeah. Even religious people are like, you know, it seems like this is bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Except for a very small group of people. Well, and those people can kind of just do what they want. And that's not fair. Seems like everybody should just let everybody do whatever. And we shouldn't make one thing or one religion or one sect of a religion or one kind of religion dominant within the country.
Yeah.
Because that would be bad for everybody else.
So I have just started listening to, I thought it was apropos, and I like to torture myself. Whoa, we got $455 now and 6 people. So somebody just donated. I have no idea. I'm not doing the math on the fly because I'm going to embarrass myself if I tried to do that. But yeah, somebody just donated a couple $100. So thank you. That's awesome.
Nice.
So now we're $45 away from me throwing in my $500 match. Yay. Anyway, what I was getting at was because I like to torture myself and do stuff like this that is apropos, I've started listening to the audiobook of Handmaid's Tale. And, like, I've never read it. I've never seen the show.
I've also never read it or seen the show. And I've thought about listening to the audiobook, but I'm like, do I want to make myself sad?
Right now, it would be very depressing. But one of the things that struck me about it, like, I'm not very far in, but I think they have an Orwellian thing going on. I haven't gotten to the reveal of this yet, but I suspect that the war that is constantly being fought against the insurgents or whatever. Ooh, we're up to $713 now. Somebody else threw in a couple hundred. Yay. So I have to throw in my 500 now. Awesome. So we're at $1,213 now, including my 500. Nice. Anyway, one of the things that stuck out to me was in this, in these insurrections that they're talking about, they're always talking about weeding out, like there's a Baptist faction that's fighting against them. And there's a Quaker faction that's, I don't think the Quakers are doing fighting because Quakers don't do that, but they're like helping really people escape. Yeah, they're helping people escape or whatever, and so they'll go on Quaker hunts and stuff. And like I suspect that eventually we're going to find out that these wars are manufactured to keep people in fear and feeling like they need to exist in that situation for their safety. But yeah, what was I getting at with that? Yeah, I guess just that kind of gives the point. Like the whatever sect ended up taking over in The Handmaid's Tale, they're Christian.
Yeah.
And they're fighting other Christians because the other Christians aren't Christian the same way as them. So like freedom of religion is good for everybody. Like it's not just to protect the filthy atheists. It's to protect you guys as well. Well, you guys
or my even
audience,
minority.
My audience
it's not
is probably
even just
not Christian,
for minority religions either.
No,
it's for literally everybody. Like if you're like, let's say you're Catholic, but then you've got I don't know, some Protestant denomination is the prevailing one. It's like Catholicism is one of the biggest religions in the world, and you would still feel oppressed, you know, and somewhat rightfully so. It just protects everybody.
Absolutely.
Also, side note, my pronouns are they, them, theirs, which I mention only because a couple of people in the chat have asked questions about me but referred to me incorrectly. So I'm just clearing that up.
Yes, Rudy is one of the non-binary pals in the Guys Gals non-binary.
I am a non-binary pal. I'm a non-binary pal of yours specifically.
Yes. All right, so that's basically all I wanted to get into on that. So next up, heavy news item today. I promise some of the tweets are fun. But,
I've read them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some fun ones. There's a video that has been going around Twitter that I'm going to show. So next up, before we get into this one, reminder that this is a fundraiser. If you're watching this later on, the fundraiser should still be going on as long as you got it fairly recently. So go click the link in the description. Go to vicerhino.com/donate. That should take you straight to the fundraiser page. It's for the Bridget Alliance, which helps to pay for people's travel expenses when they need to travel places to get abortions. Because, you know, there are places like, I forget what state it is, so I'm not going to say the name lest I get it wrong and everybody yell at me to correct me. But they're one of the like Midwestern states that's like mostly cornfields. There's one abortion clinic in the whole state, and it's not a small state. So like, you need to take time off work, you need childcare, you need travel expenses, you need a hotel. They'll help pay for some of that stuff for people in need. So it's a good cause, and it is very important right now.
Yep. Donate, peeps.
So, an Alabama couple can't adopt a child because they're non-religious. So, now this was a private adoption agency. We're gonna this comes to us from Hemet Meta. Love Hemet, he's great.
A dude.
But yeah, so they go this couple. They're an upstanding couple. They're stable. They've got a nice house. They've taken in foster kids in the past. I think they have one of their own children. I don't remember. We might get to that, but like they're like the ideal perfect family for a child that needs a home.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go to this adoption services provider, Alabama Family Adoption Services, which is a private child placement agency that's licensed by the state, because they thought that was the best option. So it's not a faith-based company. It's not run by a church. It's, in theory, it's secular. And they even they work with same-sex couples. They've helped them adopt kids before, so they seem fairly progressive, especially for Alabama.
Yeah.
So they thought it wouldn't be a problem. So they went and asked, like, "Hey, we're not religious. Is that okay?" And the response she got was, "I am sorry, we could not work with you. We are not specific about one's faith, but the biological families that we work with do request that our adoptive families have a spiritual life."
Now, this article really hit home for me because I am interested in fostering and adopting. And so is my partner, and we are both non-religious. And I think I would be actually devastated if that happened to me.
Yeah, that's
And it could.
Yeah, this is absolutely terrible. But and then I highlighted this one in red. But she confirms that her agency does not work with adoptive families who are not, or does not work with adoptive families who are not religious, but she said it's because of the wishes of the birth mothers. In the cases that we've found in 36 years, most, I highlighted most in red because that's a key word here, most, not all, of our mothers come to us asking that the adoptive families have a belief system. So if it's not all, then
Right.
shouldn't you at least check?
And not to be, I don't know if this is an asshole thing to say. If it is,
I feel like
call
we're
me out.
going to be on the same page here, but go for it.
I find it telling that the people that are giving up their kids seem to be largely religious.
Okay, that's not quite where I was going to go, but yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely. What I was going to go with is if you want a say in the religious upbringing of your child, maybe you should raise the child. Now,
also that.
If you're not in a position to raise a child, maybe abortion would have been a good option if you're not in a position to raise a child. But if, like, things happen, if you're in a situation where you have a baby that you need to give up for adoption because you're not ready for it, that's fine. Give it up for adoption. Like, there shouldn't be any stigma with that. But you shouldn't also get a say in the religious beliefs of the people that are going to be adopting your kid.
Right.
Because, like, you are giving up the care of that kid. You're giving it up to someone else.
Yeah, I think it's weird that they even have a say in that. Because, I mean, clearly the adoption agency has standards, high standards. Anything more in depth than that, it's like, well, then you should probably be raising the kid yourself, huh?
But the next sentence we get the oh, look at all the minorities we do work with. We've placed children with Jewish families. We did have an Indian family at one point. Do they think Indian is a religion?
Yeah, what does that fucking mean?
What
does that fucking mean?
It's like, would you deny someone from India because the birth parents didn't like it?
Are they just assuming that this Indian family is not Christian?
They probably meant Hindu.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were just brown and they assumed. Like, I don't know. That's sketchy right there. And then they follow it up with,
that's definitely red flags.
And then they follow it up with, I don't think that we've ever had a Muslim family. So, like, they're naming the minorities they've worked with and they can't even get more than 2.
Yeah, that's
and
rough.
And one of them they get either really, really wrong or really right in a really yikesy way.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said, I know a black guy.
Yeah.
That definitely has I have a black friend energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, but it's just ridiculous. But then we get where are we? I think I missed their biography thing, but we get to if the Brownings can't even get through the door, though, because no adoption agency will work with them, then how would birth mothers even know their options? Like,
right.
And then
if they're just going to stop them at the door, it's like, okay, so there are probably kids out there that, excuse me, there's probably at least some birth parents that don't care. And if they can't even get through the door to find out if that's the case, then that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So, but then we get to the question: if a birth mother wanted her child to be placed in a secular home, then would the Wyatts help facilitate it? The Wyatts being the people that run this adoption agency. Mm-hmm. So the answer should just be yes. If the only reason they turn them away is because the birth mothers don't want secular households, then if a birth mother came in saying, I did want a secular household, shouldn't be any thought required. Just, yeah, absolutely, of course. But the answer was actually, she's unsure whether her agency would facilitate an adoption for a birth mother who, for example, expressed a preference for a non-religious home. She and her husband, who co-own the agency, would have to discuss the issue, she said. Why?
What is there to discuss? That answer is shocking. Like, it seems like their answer should be, well, I'm not sure. But like the fact that they're like, we'd have to discuss that. It's like, what do you mean? What? Just.
Yeah. It's a blatant double standard.
Yeah, it's wild, wild.
Yeah, and now the Brownings are reconsidering whether to adopt at all because the barriers that have blocked their path have been so ridiculous. So that's one of the things people will often say is like, oh well, if you get pregnant and you don't want the kid, just give it up for adoption. Now that there's a lot of issues with that, like not the least of which like there are a lot of problems with forcing someone to remain pregnant and give birth. Those are not easy things to do. I've seen it happen 3 times. 2 of them were major surgeries, and the other one was there were some nasty things going on in the delivery room. Nobody should be forced to do that if they don't want to. But even if that were a valid argument, they try to give them up for like there are these people, these wonderful people in a loving home trying desperately to give a kid that already exists a loving home, and they're being told no because you have the wrong beliefs. So they're not pro-life. They are pro-fetus.
If I ever have to give up a child for adoption, I'm going to go to like a super fucking churchy place and be like, make sure they go to a good pagan home. Make sure they're some real heathens raise up my children.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wonder if they'd even allow that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, you'll do it for faiths. Well, where do we draw the line there? Are we doing it for non-faiths? Or I mean, that's
So what I really want to get to, the last sentence here, it's not the last sentence, the last one I'm going to read. If the people running these agencies actually care about acting in the best interests of the children, then they would be doing everything they could do to match kids with good parents, even if they don't match some outdated, archaic checklist of what good means.
Yep. You said it best.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's it for our articles today. Next, we're going to do some tweets. Oh, does the Satanic Temple run adoption agencies?
Honestly, they should.
They should. They would do. Excuse me. They would do a great job with that. Okay. So before we move on to the tweets, just a reminder that this is a fundraising stream. I haven't had nearly enough whiskey for me to be slurring my words like that. I'm actually purposely not drinking much because this weekend I'm going to the God Awful Movies live show, and because this is like the first ever social thing that I've done in like the last, even before the pandemic, like 5 years, the first like big social thing where I'm like going where there's people and stuff. I like went all out and like, yeah, I'll splurge. Did the platinum night thing and the VIP thing or whatever. And I've been told there's a lot of alcohol at these things. So I'm like, I'm going to be hurting on the weekend. So I'm not going to make myself hurt tomorrow while I have to drive there.
That's probably for the
best. So
I'm
just having the one small glass of whiskey. So I'm not even buzzed today. I just slur my words because that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I got a flight of margaritas from my local bar, and they're all mini, they're all small, but I'm like, I got a pineapple one and a mango one and a strawberry one and a regular one, and I'm not even buzzed. It's kind of a shame. It's probably because I ate a lot right before I started drinking them, but
yeah, maybe.
Oh well. It's probably for the best.
Anyway, yeah, I got distracted here. So if I haven't said it yet, we're raising funds for the Bridget Alliance. They help pay for travel expenses for people who need to get abortions, which is very needed right now. So go ahead and donate if you're seeing this on the Watering Hole archive. As long as the video is fresh within the last couple days, the fundraiser should still be open. So the goal is $2,000. We're over halfway there when you include my match donation that's going in after the stream. So we should be, I'm confident we can hit 2,000 before the end of 18 days. But it'd be nice if we hit it before the end of the stream. So I think we only need 800 more for that, which we don't even have 800 yet, but I believe in you guys. I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you sexy thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Chris Cortez just arrived as I was singing.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Chris.
That's such an unfortunate thing to walk in on.
What did you miss? You missed me not singing for the rest of it. I actually floated the idea in our DMs before the stream of like there's a song by the Scissor Sisters. I can't decide whether you should live or die. Oh, you'll probably go to heaven. Please don't hang your head. It's a good song. And I know the chords. And I was like, would it be legal for me to like sing that song on stream and dedicate it to Justice Alito? I came down on better safe than sorry. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Also, nobody really wants to hear me sing. And I don't think my guitar's in tune, so.
Yeah, he played a bard in our last campaign. Trust me, you don't want to hear him sing.
If you listen to the Bible Through a Child's Eyes podcast, specifically the episodes to do with Joseph, there's a lot of singing in those. Yeah. You get to hear exactly what you don't.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
I love that musical, though.
I've never seen it, actually, but listening to you and Lily talk about it did kind of make me want to see it.
Well, it really kind of shocked me. Like, I know I've read the story before, but it just kind of glossed over me. But reading it this time, Joseph was a tyrant. He was not a nice guy. Like, you see him portrayed in all these things. Like, he's this benevolent guy that collected all the wheat or whatever while the crops were good. And then in famine, he was just giving it out to everybody to keep them alive and keep them happy and healthy. No, there's a chapter where it's like, oh, Joseph, please give us food. And he's like, no, you got to pay for it. Like, okay, we paid for it. Okay, next year comes around. We gave you all our money. We have no more money left. Please give us food. Okay, give us your livestock. Like, oh, okay, we'll give you our livestock. And then the next year is like, oh, Joseph, we don't have livestock and we don't have money. Please give us food. And like, give me all your land. And so they give them all the land. And then the next year, same thing again. It was like, okay, sell yourselves into slavery for the food. And so he literally... Like, obviously, this is not historical. This never happened. But in the book of Genesis, the entire population of Egypt and Canaan gets enslaved by Joseph.
Slightly on that note, this is not a spoiler for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but there's a line in it where somebody who is a multiverse traveler is casually like, oh yeah, in most universes you don't have to pay for food. It's weird that you guys do in yours.
Yeah, nice little jab at capitalism there.
Yeah, I felt like that was appropriate.
Coming from a Disney film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the cat's in my way of my buttons. Oh, you know what? I better put her down. She has a tendency to hit the corner button, which is where my stop streaming button is right now. So, sorry, kitty. Tweets. Let's get some tweets. Okay, we're going to start with Scott Adams because I promised some funny tweets. This is funny. This is pretty funny. All right, so Scott Adams, if you don't know, he's the creator of Dilbert. He says, I just learned that a newspaper group won't run my upcoming comic strip that introduces the first black character, Dave, to the Dilbert verse. And he just sent this by itself, no context, and was like, okay, well, that seems odd that someone would refuse to run a comic because there was a black character in it. Like, that doesn't seem right at all. Now, I mean, it's kind of iffy that, like, his comic's been running for over 3 decades now, and this is the first black character.
Yeah, that's wild.
So that says something right there. But let's take a look at the comic, shall we? Management asked me to add some diversity to the engineering team. Meet Dave. I identify as white. You're ruining everything, Dave. I wonder why that paper wouldn't run the comic.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I think that's fucking hilarious. I also think that the idea of them introducing a black character that way after the comic running for an obscenely long amount of time without any, and then introducing them that way is also very funny because it's kind of like they're poking fun at themselves.
It gets meta.
Yeah, that's really funny. But I also understand why a newspaper might be like, I don't know if we want to run that.
I could also see that being a dig at trans people because, like, that's just the attack helicopter joke again.
It is, I guess, but it's, I don't know.
If we didn't know who it came from, it could be funny in the right context, I'm going to say.
Yeah, without context, I'm like, you know, if I didn't know for sure that this was definitely a dig at trans people, this would be funny. But out of context.
Okay, but the best part of this comic, the absolute funniest part of this comic is that this was not a weekend comic. This was a weekday comic. And I guess Scott Adams forgot that the weekday comic doesn't run in color. So the black guy is literally white in the comic.
Oy vey.
Like, oh, that's perfect. Like,
solid choice.
You can't make that up.
Nope.
Okay. Next up, we get Bridget Gabriel, who says, America needs Mike Lindell back on Twitter to survive.
What a wild take. What an absolutely wild take.
The security of our democracy depends on the pillow guy being able to tweet.
Not sorry, the pillow guy, the my.
That was an Alex Jones impression.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I was trying to do the microphone grab thing that he does without like making too much noise with the microphone.
What a fucking cringe take. I can't. Was it April Fool's Day when she wrote that?
Well, it was May 1st. Maybe she was just a month late for April Fool's.
It's even if you're a big old Trumper, even if you love Mike Lindell, that's such a bad tweet. Yeah, like if they ban Joe Biden from Twitter right now, I'm not going to be like, oh no, the American democracy is falling. It's like, okay, Joe Biden can't go on Twitter. What the fuck ever. Yeah. Well, that one doesn't work as well for me because I don't even like Joe Biden either, to be honest.
Yeah, but he also doesn't even use Twitter really, so.
That's true. I think that he probably saw the former presidency before his was like, that's one website. I don't want to get too creative.
You know, maybe Kyle Kulinski might be a better example for that. Do you know who that is?
Say that again.
Kyle Kulinski. He's a left-wing commentator. I haven't watched any of his stuff in ages, but like he can be a bit extreme at times, and sometimes he comes across as a little nuts. He's usually he's very charismatic, and he does make some really good points. So I don't take this as me dunking on Kyle. I don't particularly enjoy his content, but it's perfectly valid to enjoy his content. Like he's not some yikesy guy who like, oh, you're going to find out that he was hanging out with Matt Gaetz at the high school the other day. Yeah, like if he were to get banned from Twitter, it'd be like, yeah, that sucks. And you should probably be reinstated, but it's not going to, democracy doesn't fall if you don't reinstate Kyle Kulinski to Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter is not where, this is going to be news to some people. Twitter doesn't fucking matter. Twitter is a social media where the amount of information that you can say in a single post is extremely limited. It is for sound bites. It is for off-the-cuff little thoughts.
Yeah.
It is not that important.
No, and everybody freaking out over Elon buying Twitter. Yeah, that was a stupid thing for Elon to do, I think, and I'm not terribly pleased with that decision. However, it's fucking Twitter. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Anywho.
And I say that as somebody who uses Twitter every day.
Yeah, so don't
get me wrong. I use it every day.
Yeah, and when the Elon thing goes through, like as it inevitably will, I will probably continue to use it unless it gets like really, really, really bad, in which case I'll just stop using it. Like, whatever. Yeah, people are going, kitty, there's a kitty on my desk. She's much safer over here. There's no buttons she can screw everything up with. I mean, I guess if she rubs the power cord hard enough, my computer will just shut down, but that hasn't happened before. She has hit that button over here many times. Anywho, next tweet is from the Green Pussy, which, that's her name. La Chatte Verte in French is the Green Pussy. So
very nice.
And I actually, I just in case I got any backlash on that, I actually did. I did a Google translate thing. Yep. La Chatte Verte, the Green Pussy. Quite literally. But that doesn't matter. I just wanted to show you that I had that ready.
Just so you know.
So I forget what thread this was in, but she says this thread shows how ignorant white liberals are of genetics. Balthazar. Okay, so this is someone who might actually know more about Kyle than me. He's talking about Kyle. Says Kyle is the kind of guy who you find out they're sleeping with their co-host kind of guy, or the kind of guy who looks like a used car salesman when you find out he actually was a used car salesman. Both of these are true. Oh, okay then.
So like shitty in a personal way, but not in a like, not necessarily.
Not in a he should go to prison way, just
way.
in a kind of like, Okay.
Like, he's probably not somebody that I would trust greatly with my personal life, but doesn't make him evil.
Yeah. So this person says she is married to a oh yeah, I remember this is an older one. So this was in something about it's racial purity, I guess they're talking about. She's married to a non-white and can't admit that race mixing will eradicate unique European phenotypes. What is a unique European phenotype?
Yeah, that's what I want to fucking know.
Because like I actually retweeted this and I commented on it and I made a quip about blue eyes or whatever, but like I legitimately spent a long time thinking about like, okay, what is a gene that gets expressed in exclusively European populations? I'm like, well, you can find black people with blue eyes, so that's not exclusively European. And like, and like, I don't know, red hair maybe? Is it? But like you can find...
Is having a flat ass specifically European?
Maybe.
What is like, it? What?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Because like, that's just not how genetics works.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't understand why that would be important to anybody.
That was my point. Like, the fact that you can't find a specifically European phenotype was kind of secondary to the point I was making, which was, why the fuck should I care if 500 years from now blue-eyed people don't exist?
Right. It's like, oh,
who cares?
People are gonna look a little different.
Oh no.
Why? I don't care.
Like, yeah, like who fucking cares? Why is this even a thing?
The only reason I would care is if that happened because of genocide. But the resulting in people looking different wouldn't be the thing that I'd be upset about. I'd be upset about the genocide. So like there's no way this makes sense.
Yeah, and it's so stupid on so many levels. I was gonna say something, but I forgot what it was.
Sorry.
So it'll come back to me in the middle of a future tweet, and I'll come back to it. Like her position is almost as stupid as saying Neanderthals still exist because their genes remain in us. It's like, okay, but like the Neanderthals that lived millions of years ago, were they millions or were they hundreds of thousands? I don't know. Whatever.
Whenever they lived, the people that like the Neanderthals that lived then, they don't care that their genes didn't carry on. They were just living their lives. This is kind of like the racist version of the why should we care about, like, why does anything in our lives matter if the universe is going to experience heat death in 5 trillion years? It's like, why does that matter? I'm not going to be around for it. Who cares? It's like, I'm sure that will be somebody else's problem.
Actually, just finished watching a Doctor Who episode about that. Apparently, humans are going to go back in time, put their faces in little spheres, and enslave previous humanity.
Which season of which Doctor is this?
That's David Tennant. New series, season 3, with Martha Jones. That's one where she like travels the world.
I remember that episode.
That's the episode where prayer really is the answer once, because there's a psychic network going on.
Yeah, it took me a second. I haven't watched Doctor Who in a long time.
That's actually why that song from the Scissor Sisters has been in my head recently, because that song makes an appearance in that episode.
Oh,
the master wheels him around in a wheelchair when he's like all old and decrepit, going, I can't decide whether you should live or die.
I remember that. I remember it now.
It's a bopping tune. And then I forgot that it was like super explicit at the very beginning of the song, so I like played the actual song for the kids, and it was like, fucking kiss you both at the same time. Like, okay, well, kids, you already knew that word, right? Well, I'm not going to explain what it meant in that context.
Well, you know it's a naughty word. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, okay, so rabbit trail again. I recently got a bidet, and it's one that they don't take themselves very seriously in their documentation. So the instruction manual for installing it is like the big words on the title says installing your shit with like the I is a little asterisk. And then as I'm doing bedtime tonight, I guess I left it on the bathroom counter, but as I'm doing bedtime tonight, my son turns to me and is like, on the instructions for the bidet, what letter is being substituted? Like, what letter is being replaced by the asterisk? I just kind of look at him like, you know what letter it
You
was.
know what
You
word.
know. Don't pretend
be
you
coy
don't
with
know
me,
that.
child.
Like, I am not naive enough to think that you don't hear those things at school.
You know.
In fact, there's a non-zero chance my daughter's out in the living room right now, and as soon as I go out, she's gonna be like, "I heard you saying naughty words." So Balthazar 228.
Exactly how she'll say it too.
Yeah. Lily made a guest appearance in one of our D&D sessions. She kicked all our asses.
Yeah, I made her a level 20 druid. And I just let her absolutely go to town on the entire party. It was so fun.
We were saved by the fact that she's not experienced with D&D, so she made a couple basic mistakes that managed to have us not permanent die.
Yes.
I imagine a permanent death. I imagine a permadeath in that episode wouldn't have counted.
I also specifically put in a failsafe of like, okay, but if the players do this, you've got to back off.
Okay.
You got to stop killing them if they do X, Y, and Z.
It was a really fun session. Anyway, Balthazar says, if you ever want proof positive that we are still very much apes and definitely part of Neanderthal, just go to a New York Rangers game. See,
I don't get it. I don't do sports.
I don't do sports either. I think that's baseball, the Rangers. No, because
I'm too queer for sports.
The Mets and the Yankees are baseball. So what are Rangers? Hockey? I don't know. I'm a straight cis white guy. I don't do sports. I'm the odd one out. Anyway, my kids used to do an educational program at the Buffalo Zoo. And like it was a thing where you drop them off and they take them behind the scenes and do all sorts of fun stuff with them or whatever. But it's like it wasn't enough time for us to go home while they were doing that, so we just had to hang out at the zoo. And often we would eat our lunch while watching the gorillas, and the baby gorillas behave exactly like baby human children. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
I actually do not like seeing monkeys and great apes when I go to the zoo because it makes me uncomfortable. I feel like I'm spying on a family that's just minding their own business. Oh, like yeah. I'm being some sort of creepy little voyeur.
The male in that enclosure, he did not like he would just sit there and glare at you. And it was like I know I'm kind of projecting emotions onto him. He's like, gorilla males only make one face and it's a kind of angry glare, but it's still like he just like looks on you with utter contempt. It's kind of funny.
Hockey.
Hockey. There's a lot of sagittal chest beating, hooting, and general ape behavior. Okay.
That tracks.
I thought it was hockey because I does New York even have it? Like I know Buffalo has a football team, but does New York City have a football team?
I don't know. You are asking the absolute wrong person for that.
It's the New York Lions.
Interesting.
No, it's not. I'm just waiting for the pissed off people in the chat to be like, "Oh, I can't believe you said that." Oh, yeah, Lions are Detroit. Yeah, Detroit. I think. I don't know. Whatever. Next tweet. All right, we're still at 745 on the fundraiser. I want to get to 2,000, guys. You got to do better than this. You got to do better than stop sending me money.
Donate.
Oh yeah, so we're talking about Elon again. Elon Musk buying Twitter is the 21st century version of Lincoln freeing the slaves. What? I'm sorry.
No. No, it's not. First of all, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, it's so wrong. It's just so wrong.
No, it's not even. I don't think that there's any level upon which those two things can be compared.
No, they're just not even, like, I can't even think of how to correct the analogy because it's just so broken.
They're both white guys doing a thing. That's like
they certainly are.
That's the most that I can find in common between those two things.
But Rudy, haven't you heard that Elon is an African American? God.
Almost nothing on earth will set me off faster than somebody really legitimately trying to argue from Elon Musk being an African American. Like, that's not what that fucking means in the context when we're talking about inequality. Yeah. We're not talking about national status.
Yeah. Anyway, Balthazar says New York has two, I guess, football teams, the New York Giants and the New York Jets. Yeah, but the Jets always get delayed at LaGuardia, so I'm just trying to piss off all the sports people. We had really hot debates going on about the abortion thing. There were people arguing about Hillary and stuff in the chat, and I was just ignoring that because I don't even want to get into that. I'm already probably losing subscribers over this. If I start saying you should have voted for Hillary, which you should have, that's just going to lose me even more. Yeah, I know. Wasn't a good vote. Better than what we got, though.
It wasn't. That's what I'm thinking was like, oh man, I hate to agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Okay. I'm gonna be a little bit hopeful here, a little bit optimistic. So progressives on the left, we're always infighting, right? And this is one of the big problems, is that we're always infighting, and there's sections and sects and stuff, and there's like people that are disagreeing with each other, and we can't agree on what to fucking do. But on the right, they're all in lockstep voting for the exact same things. And so that's why they're able to get shit done when we can't, because we can't agree on shit. But there's an upside to this. The reason for that is because we are progressive. We are moving forward. The thing about moving forward is you're moving into new territory, stuff that hasn't been done yet. When you're doing stuff that hasn't been done yet, you don't know the best way to do it. You need to figure it out. You need to argue, discuss, like, stuff needs to be done to figure it out. And the arguments are a natural part of that. But on the left, or on the right, where they're conservative, they just want to maintain the status quo and go backwards if possible. All you have to do is not vote for anything that moves forward. Vote against anything that moves forward. Vote for anything that moves backward. That's all you got to do. There's nothing to disagree about there. It's so easy to agree with other conservatives when you're a conservative, because being a conservative is all about saying, no, let's keep it the way it is or go backward.
Yeah.
So there's good reason for us to not be able to agree on shit. I know it still kind of sucks that we can't.
We're actually trying to break new ground.
Yeah. It still sucks that we can't sometimes, but ultimately that's because we are trying to make progress. So it is a good thing. Anyway, Jester Lord of Fools says, are they pointing out that both were largely useless because the last slaves were freed because of World War II? Oh God.
Yeah, I thought that was part of what I was like. I'm not even going to go into the whole Lincoln freeing the slaves thing, but let's just look at the basics of this tweet and see how ridiculous it is. But also, yeah.
Well, also, I mean, slavery is still legal. We just call it private prisons.
Yeah, saying the quiet part out loud.
Balthazar says, I don't even pay attention to sports. I'm an esports viewer. So I guess esports would be video game sports?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, not even video game sports, like competitive video games.
Yeah.
Of any kind.
Okay, so Aunt Jur is asking, what's the Bridget Alliance? So the Bridget Alliance is the charity that we're raising money for this evening. What they do is they help pay for travel expenses for people who are in need of abortions. It's a very much needed service right now, and we're trying to get to $2,000. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking kind of weird now because I have like these little burps that keep on popping up and not quite making it, and it's like, yeah.
That damn whiskey.
Yeah, it probably is the whiskey. Actually, you know what? So I was talking about my bidet earlier. So while I was installing it, because the only other time I am ever like kneeling in front of the toilet with the lid up is when I'm throwing up into it. Brains are weird. I actually started feeling like I was about to throw up. Like,
because of the association.
Yeah.
Wild.
It was nuts. Like, and it was like legitimate. Like, it wasn't like the toilet is gross, so I used to be a janitor. I've cleaned way worse things than my own toilet. But
just the act of leaning over a toilet. Interesting.
But yeah, it gave me an opportunity to deep clean the screws that hold the toilet seat on, because stuff seeps down there and it's they're gross. Anyway, next tweet. Okay, no, let's skip this one, because I actually found out afterwards that this was satire. I'll read it because it's funny in that context, but I thought it was serious. I feel awful for the SCOTUS justices today. Imagine trying to privately make a decision while screaming strangers question your sanity. So I thought that was legitimate, because I've been seeing.
Yeah, it doesn't really come off as satire.
Yeah, I saw so many takes that were talking about the leak being so egregious. Which, let's be clear, the leak was egregious, but that's not the main news item. That's just what the people on the right are saying was the main news item.
Mm-hmm.
But like, turns out Mama Dr. Jones is actually, I think, I might be wrong. I checked out her profile after I took the screenshot, and I think she's actually a gynecologist. So very unlikely that a gynecologist is going to side with the SCOTUS on this one.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, so we can skip that because it's actually satire, and I was wrong to have collected it in people that are supposed to be twits.
It happens.
So Congressman Mary, is that Northrop? I don't know her last name. But Congresswoman says Elon Musk paid $0 in federal taxes in 2018. If he can afford Twitter, he can damn well afford to pay his fair share in taxes. We need a billionaire tax now. In all fairness, I don't know which year it was, but there was a year when Elon paid like $11 billion, and it ended up being like the most in taxes any individual has ever paid. So this isn't.
He should do that every fucking year.
Yeah, he should do it every. So this is a bit inaccurate, because she's gone back to when he was paying $0 in taxes. But the fact that he could get away with $0 in taxes in 2018 and the tax code hasn't changed that much since then, it's like, yeah, there needs to be some sort of something to make sure that these people are being taxed to a point where they're like helping to contribute more. So Tim Young says, so you're on board with Disney paying their fair share in taxes too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of question? What does that mean?
Well, they think because we were kind of getting behind Disney when they were taking funding away from the politicians that were supporting the Don't Say Gay bill.
Oh, they think that we worship idols.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, is they seem to think that anything that we, like, if we come out in defense of something, like anything, then we must be defending that thing in its entirety, and we must absolutely love that thing.
I like Disney films. I don't like the Disney Corporation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that they were like, hey, the Don't Say Gay bill is maybe bad. I don't like that they don't pay their fair share in taxes. Those are not contradictory opinions. Yeah. It's weird that this person seems to think they've gotten a gotcha in there with something that, I mean, the answer is obviously yes. Of course, I also think that. Those ideas are not in conflict. What are you talking about?
All right. Did you see that meme that, here, I'm going to bring it up on the stream. You might have to, do you have the stream open on something where you can see it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I'm going back to here. Nope.
Looking at my phone, waiting for the meme.
Yeah. So conservatives holding Disney at sword point, saying, drop your weapons or I kill the man. And then leftists, it's the guys from Pirates of the Caribbean going, kill him. He's not our man.
Oh, I've seen that meme. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel about accurate. It too. It's like, okay, take him.
Yeah, absolutely. They should be paying taxes. There's a super chat that I want to read. YouTube's finally actually saving all the super chats that I get. Been having such trouble with that. So Silent Raven says, fun fact, this is going to be a sad one. I'm so sorry. Fun fact, I was supposed to be aborted, but my family convinced my mom not to. I really wish they did, so I didn't have to endure sexual, emotional, and physical abuse by my family. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
I hope that you've been able to get the help that you need and deserve, and I hope that you're having a better life now. And I really am so sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah, I think that in this, for a lot of people, the prospect of like, I don't want to unalive myself, but the prospect of just never having been born, kind of nice.
Yeah,
I have definitely had those feelings myself. So, my heart goes out to you, fam. I
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's fun. I promised you fun tweets. So, the Titan's Vision says, women want to feel. That's why during sex they close their eyes. They don't talk about men's beauty, they talk about men's charisma. Men want to see. That's why men watch porn and desire to see many naked women. Men only talk about women's beauty, not about their charisma. You have something to say, Rudy?
So do they not know that women watch porn?
Do okay. Yeah, that there's that. My takeaway here.
That's the first question I have is like, interesting take.
That that was my second question. My first question was, do all the women you've ever slept with have their eyes closed the entire time every time you have sex with them?
That might be about
like,
you, my
that's
guy.
that's not a woman thing. That might be like they're not they're thinking of someone else that they'd rather be seeing if that's the case.
Yeah, it's like that might be just you. You may have very badly told on yourself, my friend. Sucks to suck, but it sounds like you suck.
Yeah. That one was fun. But it's like, and like this difference between like men's beauty versus men's charisma and women's beauty versus women's charisma. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
I mean, if we're talking D&D scores, those things are usually related.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like they're related. They're not the same thing.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Like, I don't really talk about anyone's charisma generally.
Yeah, that's not really something that ever crosses my mind.
Like, not in a relationship sense. Like maybe in a like, oh, that is a very charismatic speaker.
When I think of the word charismatic, I'm usually thinking of a politician.
Yeah.
Or a celebrity.
Yeah. So
I like a person that I have sex with.
My,
and I'm definitely not thinking about it in the context of having sex with them. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
in that context.
In all my years of marriage, I don't think my wife ever once called me charismatic.
She would be right.
Thanks. All right. Frank Turek says, imagine the creator of the universe humbling himself by coming to serve, suffer, and die at the hands of the very creatures he created. Why would he do this? Because his infinite love compels him to offer salvation to those to those made in his image.
Boring Christian take, as always. Thanks, Turk.
Yeah, but like he didn't, like, why would his infinite love compel him to offer salvation by killing himself, and not just by saying, hey, as long as you like actually feel remorse for the bad things you did, you're forgiven.
He said infinite love, not like infinite ability to make a good plan.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like, it's not even a sacrifice. Like, Jesus was dead for not conservative, liberally speaking, he was dead for 40 hours. That's not even 2 full days. Like from 3 o'clock Friday when he said my God, why have you forsaken me? And then gave up his spirit from then.
In some gospels.
Until it was around sunrise on Sunday that he was raised from the dead. Sunrise in Jerusalem around that time of year is around 6 a.m. So if you bump it to 7 a.m., that's 40 hours.
Yeah, that's not a lot. Not gonna lie.
So
I feel like
now, granted, that was a really shitty weekend. That's a really shitty weekend.
Yeah, but the thing is, I can conceptualize people who have had worse times than that.
Yeah,
you get kidnapped by the CIA. You got information they want. they're going to torture you for a lot more than 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds worse.
Yep. So, yeah, Jesus didn't even have the ultimate punishment for your sins.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be the
I
ultimate
can think of
sacrifice?
worse.
I mean, I'm not saying that I want the dude to have suffered more. I'm just saying that he did, like, objectively, he did not suffer more than anyone else on the earth.
Yeah.
And,
like the way he went out was pretty a concentrated amount of shitty, but like...
He also died quick for a crucifixion victim. Like, that was the whole thing, was that they were breaking the legs of the people, and they got to him, and he was like, oh, he's already dead.
Yeah. Sounds like he had the easy way out.
Yep. Well, easy-ish. Still wouldn't want to be crucified
Easier.
after being whipped. Easier. All right, so before we move on to the other one, Jester Lord of Fools says, anyone who reads the Old Testament should realize that Jesus died for Yahweh's sins, if anyone's at all. Fair point.
Yep.
Yahweh did a lot of bad shit. Okay, so that's the last of the tweets. So what we're going to do now is there's a video thing, and Okay, Rudy, say some words.
La-di-da-di-da-da.
Okay, so I think everybody can still hear you, because my soundbar thingy is going. I just had to switch thingamajiggies over, and now we've got a video to play. Let's get the tweets out of here and play the video. I have it labeled as Vaccine Lady.
Liberals.
Yes.
I get you support Ukraine.
Yeah, we support Ukraine.
But did you know that in Ukraine only 34% of people are vaccinated, which means 76% of people chose not to get the vaccine?
Okay, people are hating on her for that math there. I'm just going to come right out and say that's the kind of mistake I would make myself, so I'm not going to make fun of the math.
But we caught it.
But we did catch it. We do know her numbers are off, but I will admit that I'm also prone to that sort of error. But like, what does supporting Ukraine have to do with how many of them are vaccinated?
Like oh, those people should die, I guess. Never mind.
Like, what? Yeah, like if I know someone who's not vaccinated, well, okay. No, he is vaccinated now. Never mind. If I knew someone who was not vaccinated and I saw someone break into their home, I'd still call the police. I'd still do what I could to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
Like, the vaccine has nothing to do with it at that point. Like, the vaccine... Anyway, we've barely scratched the surface, so let's...
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, when y'all were saying all the unvaccinated deserve to die, or they should be gassed or hung and don't deserve medical care...
What?!
Whom?
Whomst has been saying this.
Okay, I will say, I am more left-leaning than a lot of people who call themselves liberals. I don't even call myself a liberal. I call myself a leftist because I feel like I'm too left to just call myself a liberal. I don't know anybody who is saying that everybody who isn't vaccinated should just die. And I am definitely on the more extreme end.
Not even just should die. Not even just should die. Because I have heard people say, like, oh, I hope the virus hurries up and kills all the unvaccinated people. Which is just I understand the sentiment, but it's a really shitty take.
But, yeah.
But I haven't heard anybody say that we should actively gas them.
Yeah, that's... nobody's saying that. Absolutely fucking nobody. The worst I've heard, like you said, is people hoping that they like reap the worst possible consequences of their own actions, which is still like wishing ill upon people, but not like I want to fucking kill these people. Like what?
Well, it's kind of like when Rush Limbaugh died of lung cancer. I was not sad. I was actually a little bit happy. The world is a better place without him. I will not say that I'm happy that his family is going through a loss or suffered a loss or whatever, because there were people that loved him. So I'm not happy for them, but like and I'm not even going to say that applies to the anti-vax population in general. Like, we want to protect these people. That's the whole point. Like, get the vaccine so you are protected, so that you stay alive, and so that you don't pass it around to other people so that they can stay alive. Like, this isn't like it's literally the opposite of wanting them dead.
Do you still think the same thing about the Ukrainians?
No, we didn't. We don't want to gas the Ukrainians. We never did.
That's I don't know if it's just a conservative thing, because we saw that other tweet earlier where it was like, oh, so you think Disney shouldn't be taxed? Like that was a gotcha. Now they're like, oh, so you think all the Ukrainians should die? It's like, no, I don't.
I feel like it's telling on themselves, because I have heard, like, I have seen conservatives post things about how, like, oh, I can't wait till all these liberals start dying off because of the vaccine. And, like, that's kind of along the same vein as the wishing the conservatives would all, or the anti-vaxxers would all die. Like, got to make that distinction, because not all conservatives are anti-vaxxers. But, like, that is along the same vein as saying, I hope all the anti-vaxxers die of COVID. But, like, so, like, yeah, like, nobody, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, it's just so nuts I can't even think of an equivalent.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were shot, I mean, you'd probably want medical care, but if you're unvaccinated, you obviously don't deserve it in Ukraine.
No. If you're shot, you deserve medical care. Either way, vaccinated or not. But, like, I literally, the last fundraiser I did on here was for Doctors Without Borders, specifically for Ukraine, and sending medical staff there to help with the wartime shit. And they're probably doing vaccination stuff over there too while they're there. And, like, I looked into it. There are a number of factors that went into Ukraine having such low vaccination numbers. But ultimately, it doesn't matter for the purpose of supporting them in the war.
One has nothing to do with the other.
Except for the fact that war tends to spread disease really well. So it really sucks that they do have that low of a vaccinated population. But like I said, there were multiple factors that went into it, and that doesn't change who I support. Like, I'm not going to support Russia because they have more vaccinated troops. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
No.
We're just curious. We want to know.
If you're just curious, you could have found out the answer to that without making an idiot of yourselves by
asking
posting.
Literally anybody.
Okay, so that's it. We should probably end it now. It was a ride today.
I'm up past my bedtime. I'm a first shifter now.
I'm sorry to hear that. But
I mean, I don't mind it that much because I was never really a night owl to begin with. But every time that I want to stay up past like 10 o'clock, I have to plan for it. I gotta be like, okay, I'm gonna have Nathan pack my lunch for tomorrow, and I'm gonna set my clothes out so I don't have to stumble around in the dark looking for them. Like, I have to think ahead to how I can save as much time as possible and get in as much sleep as I can.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining me. It's been fun. Remember, you still got a couple weeks left to donate to the fundraiser, so please go do that. If you're watching this in the archives, it's probably still up. We're at $745. After I put in my $500, we'll be at $1,245. So it's $755 left to go to the goal. I think we can do that. So yeah, let's do this and roll credits time.